Okay, so a few weeks back, I picked up a copy of Transport Fever 2 after watching some of my favorite YouTubers playing the game a lot. So yeah, I decided I would make a YouTube channel. Eventually, this channel is going to wind up being mostly streaming, but for now, I'm gonna do a couple of recorded videos just to try and get a feel for how this sort of thing works. So this is mainly an intro video. I'm doing this just to partially to figure out the software, but I'm also going to be introducing you guys to a little bit about myself, as well as um, part of my intended play style, and then we're going to generate a world together. This is not my first take of this video, but hopefully this will be the one that actually turns out good enough to be worth putting on the internet. So, yeah. Um, so my computer struggles with this game a little bit. It's about at the slightly below the minimum operating specs for the game. Um, and this does cause me some issues. Um, the game the game tends to be pretty laggy. I usually play on a medium-sized map since after one of the recent updates it got a little less resource intensive. Oh, that's an interesting one. I almost want to play this map just so I can have that. Hmm. But anyway, I as I said, I tend to play on a medium map for my personal things, but for this, I'm going to be playing on a small map in order to try and give you guys a somewhat less laggy experience. I'll copy that thing just in case I decide I want to go back to that, because that was actually kind of cool. But anyway, so for my intended play style, I like to have a single centralized city that I base most of my operations in, and then I sort of expand a rail network out from there. Um, in the early game, I'm going to not be making really any bridges or anything. I'm probably going to set up a couple of trucking or tram routes, because one of the mods I have is a mod that allows for cargo trams, which I find very useful. It lets you have a narrow gauge or light rail, whichever you want to call it, type system. Um, I usually call it narrow gauge, but I've picked up some of the mannerisms of the streamers, and I feel that light rail is a bit cooler in the context of the actual game. But what I'm looking for in a map is I like to have a decent sized mainland with a few cities, but I also like to have a couple like on various islands. But um, for me, an ideal map for this, I tend to generate with the tropical islands, but I put on the temperate graphics, and I feel that that gives a pleasant looking combination. But I want something where most of the stuff I can eventually connect up via railway bridges, but like in this case, I would probably connect up those two main islands with the railway network eventually, potentially there, but most likely those two would be connected via shipping. But I don't know. I'm gonna see if I can't find something interesting. If I don't, I might go back to that one with those three towns on the one island, because that could actually become really interesting in terms of a hub. And in fact, I think I am going to do that, because I actually kind of like the way that turned out. Um, because with one thing I've noticed in some of my playthroughs is that cities that are super clustered together like that will actually wind up building off their various districts. Um, Although one issue with this is going to be if I want to connect much of anything by rail, it's going to involve some pretty insane bridging. Let's see if I can get a little bit more land to work with without breaking those cities apart. Hmm. Yeah, no, I think I'm gonna see if I can't find something else randomly that's also interesting. Um, hmm. But anyway, so I'll talk about some of my mods I plan on using while I find a map I like. So most of the mods I have are various British ones. I have a lot of various steam engines, as well as a couple of mods for wagons. One of which is a generic British wagon. It's got various like flat car type or open wagons, and they all can contain basically whatever. Um, and I feel that that's a fairly realistic thing because in the game they put a lot of the things on the platform already in containers, so it's not unreasonable to think that some of those containers could just be loaded up onto fairly basic wagons and shipped off without much specialization. Um, let's see how this map turns out. So I'm going to be doing start year 1850, and for this stream, I'm going to be attempting to do this on a medium difficulty. Let's check what mods I have. So, as you can see, I've got a lot of mods available. I'm not going to be using all of them, but I am going to be using most of them. And I'm going to have sandbox mode turned on for the first little bit. I intend to use this mainly for adjusting city size, because I like to have a very large starting city, and so once I have most of my depots and my main stations set up in that city, I'm going to be setting it so that it's much larger than it generated in naturally, which will basically to me that represents a larger city springing up around a extremely um, specialized rail network infrastructure, which does happen a little bit just naturally in the game with transporting to the cities. But I like to be able to sort of pick where the capital city, if you will, of the map is. Um, Further on down the line, I might also use sandbox mode a little bit to jump back and forth in the dates, because I like to be able to have some of the to have one-way streets and roundabouts in the early game, and I also like to be able to put in some of the older style streets because I like the cobblestone aesthetic in the later game. So I'll sometimes use the sandbox mode for that, but I do plan on sticking to the end years with vehicles, not jumping back and forth for that, and I am going to try and use sandbox mode as little as possible. I also do not plan on messing with the money supply at all. Um, let's see. Well, wow, this map actually loaded in pretty quickly. Usually my computer's a bit laggier than that. So let's see what we have to work with here. So in this, I'm thinking I might wind up using um, Beccles here as my main hub, because yeah, and I think that Beccles and Ashford are going to wind up connecting. I'm going to connect them over this land bridge and treat them as a single city, because for Ashford to do much of anything, it's going to be forced to expand up into and through Beccles. And they also both are demanding tools and have a tools producing thing, right in the middle of the city, which I don't know. I kind of like when this sort of a graphical glitch happens. Um, Now, I am probably going to clear the buildings off of here once I get the money, but I'm going to leave this here, and I'm going to build the industrial district around it. I'm not sure if I'm going to leave the odd streets running straight through the middle of anything or not. I kind of like the leaving those sorts of weird graphical glitches in, but I think in this instance, I'm not going to because it honestly does look kind of hideous. Oh, let's pause the game before too much of my money drains away in loan interest. So, yeah, this actually has a lot of the cities pretty clumped up. So, what I'm probably going to do to begin with is, let's see. So, as I like to have the centralized depots thing, I'm probably going to eventually have a harbor here with a like a harbor and a train. Actually, yeah, I actually don't really like this map. There's not really enough room to work with much of anything. Yeah, I think I'm gonna get out of this and try and get one with a little bit more mainland. I'm sorry if this is taking so long. In my first try for this stuff, I actually wound up getting a real good map right on the first try, so I didn't wind up having to mess about with this for nearly as long. Let's see. But yeah, if I can figure out how, I will just cut out a bit of this faffing about and trying random things. Yeah, because I want to have my initial city be something that's on the main island in a fairly centralized location and has water access, which is I know a decent bit to ask for, but for my playstyle, it's somewhat necessary. This looks pretty nice. If they pre-generate in a road bridge here, I might actually use this island city as my hub and terminus. But if not, I'm probably going to centralize based on this city. So, yeah, the settings are already done, so I can just start it. Let's see how this map turns out. Yeah, if this winds up taking too long, I'm just going to see if I can edit in some of the stuff from the first attempt at the video. The reason I wasn't using it is because I'd had the resolution on the recording software turned up a bit too high, and it was causing the entire thing to be really laggy and stuttery when I went back through it again. I also might try just completely starting this over and trying my luck again, because this is getting a bit long and rambly, but I mean, I'm a bit long and rambly, so it's not exactly a poor representation of who I am. Not that I, think that's a bad thing, just not the best for YouTube content. At least not usually. Well, let's see what this map has given us. Okay, so yeah, so this town is already connected in. Well, that's kind of nice. It automatically used one of the nicer bridge textures I have, and this actually is a full-on land bridge, so it'll make it pretty easy to get rail, well, not easy, but more doable to get rail in and out without dumping a ton of money into this. Yeah, in this town here, Petersfield, I kind of like an island thing. It'll sort of force the city to grow up rather than out, which is a bit different to my normal city build style on some of my other maps. So I'd like to try it. I'm probably going to wind up running residential out down this point, see if I can get a lot of houses to build up out here, and I might wind up reclaiming some land over here in this inlet, and then I'm going to try and get the. Let's see where things are starting out initially. So yeah, since residential's a bit mixed in, it looks like we're going to wind up spreading commercial this way and industrial that way. So anyway, I think I'm going to try and I think I'm going to put the harbor and stuff over on this side and focus most of my transport network over here, and then I'm going to try and push the residential down into like that area, and then so put them the residential like out into the 3 points if I can, and then I'll let the industrial grow up along this side of the main road and the commercial up along this side, so that a lot of the noisier stuff up here with the train station and the harbor won't be as irritating. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to start on a lot of the main setup stuff initially, but see, this guy takes bricks, so I'm probably going to start off with bricks, because bricks doesn't appear to be too hard of a start on this map, and that is one of the better initial starts. So eventually I'm going to have a train line going back and forth there and then into the main hub. But for now, I think I'm just going to hook up the road network to this area, just with like utilize the existing stuff and then put a single road out to there. And then I'm gonna run bricks here and then run the bricks into this town here and back down into my main city. So yeah, I think we'll use this map. So yeah. Anyway, this, if the recording came out nicely, is going to be my first episode in my first series of Transport Fever 2. So I hope that the issues and rambling haven't put you guys off. For those not interested in hearing it, well, I'll be starting the actual progress in the next video and saying in the title that this one can be skipped for those who don't want to hear my rambling. So, anyway, yeah,